Hi, my name is Mark Rittenberg. I'm faculty at the Haas School of Business, and it's a pleasure to be with you today in talking about creating personal connections in a virtual world. We're all in a virtual world now, and it's something we didn't expect, but it's not the first time it's actually happened in society. I was reflecting back. When was there the experience of personal connections in a virtual world? And I suddenly remembered in 1942, one of my heroes, Winston Churchill, former Prime Minister of the UK, gave a speech in 1942, right after the British forces had conquered the German forces trying to occupy Egypt. And he said to the people of the world, "Now, this is not the end. This is not even the beginning of the end, but it may be the end of the beginning. It may be the end of the beginning." And when I think about those words and I listened to it last night, I heard once again the passion, the conviction, the intention. His entire message was to actually give people a breath of relief. A breath of relief. He used his power of communication, his power of conviction, his power of intention to connect with probably millions of people all over the world, that for one shining moment in time, people felt better. They felt maybe we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So creating personal connection in a virtual world, it's never been more important. And I'm not afraid to name it. This is a very painful period. There's nothing to celebrate in this period. It's something that was completely unexpected in our collective imagination. We couldn't have imagined a time like this. But it's now here, and each of us has the opportunity to connect to people, to individuals, in ways that we've never done before. And in order for communication and the channels to be kept open, we need to do these things, such as we've never done before. Many of the workforce studies I've done over the years in the so-called normal times, healthy times, I've heard hundreds of people say, usually they're the critical mass of a corporation. They say, we don't feel seen. We don't feel heard. We don't feel recognized. We'd love to make a contribution. People want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to be recognized. And they want to make a contribution. Never before is there a more urgent moment than right now for people to feel that. I was thinking back to my career when I was a director of plays, and I directed a play for the Jerusalem State Festival in 1984. And it was quite an experience because I'd never directed in a country where there's high security and guards in the theater, and I could get the actors around 6:30 in the evening, and the guard would start flashing the lights around 8:30. And I'd say, I could use another hour. He said, it's not possible. It's against the law. So I consulted some friends. What do I do? I'm not going to finish my play in 2 hours a night, and we're going to go on stage and be an abysmal failure. They said, you know what? Get him some nice English books for his children. He has 4 kids. Go to the bookstore, go to Szymanski's, buy these books, and you'll see the lights won't flash. Gave him the book, Joseph was his name, gave me a huge hug, thanked me so much profusely in Hebrew and so forth. And when I began the rehearsal, I was hoping to go till around 9:30, and once again, the lights flashed at 8:30. Back to my friends, what do I do now? It's still an 8:30 shutout. They said, bring him a nice bottle of maybe Johnny Walker Double Black for his Sabbath table. You'll see it'll make a world of difference. So I go into my tiny budget, I buy the bottle of Johnny Walker Double Black, blowing probably a tenth of the entire budget for the production on that. Give it to him, he's overwhelmed. Tears streaming down his face. And I feel like I'm on solid ground, and once again the lights flash at 8:30. I gave him some American dollars. It was big stuff in those days. And finally, I became so upset, I got an eye infection, and I had to cover one eye. Actually, like the former Israeli general Moshe Dayan, I looked just like him. And I'm trying to watch a stage with three parts to it: singers, dancers, actors. And I can't see it out of my left eye. I said, Joseph, get over here. Sit down and count the dancing steps. I have to watch the singers. So he sits down right next to me. He counts it, and he says to me, at the end of the number, he said, that wasn't very good. And I just blow my stack. I said, well, of course it's not. I did 2 hours rehearsal, and you're going to flash the lights. And it gets earlier and earlier. Of course it's not very good. He says, why don't you do it again? I said, because you're going to flash the lights. He said, no, I won't. Do it again. And we did it again. And we did it again. And it really became powerful. And suddenly I realized it's 10:30. I said, my God, thanks for the lucky break. He said, I'm really happy about our production. I'm really happy about our production. Well, the next night, the food came in with his beautiful wife and his kids, rice and chicken and all kinds of stuff, hummus for the whole cast, big feast, and we rehearsed till 12. The next few nights we rehearsed till 3 in the morning. And we won Best New Play at the Jerusalem State Festival. And my lesson was, I didn't see him. He was my guard. I was giving him gifts. I wasn't seeing him as the human being he was, and he made a huge contribution. So that's about people wanting to be seen. People want to be heard. People want to be heard. So another story, I'm racing across the Detroit airport, trying to get to my meeting at the University of Michigan, and there's no bloody sign for the taxi. I mean, I don't know how they built that airport, but anyway, there's no sign for the taxi. I go to the information counter. There's a lovely man standing there that's not paying any attention to me. I said, sir, excuse me. I'm in a rush. I'm about 40 minutes late. Sir, excuse me. Sir, I was the only one at the counter. I said, is there any way I can get a question answered? And he turned around. I looked into his eyes, and I saw that he was disabled. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to lose my temper. I'm just looking for a taxi. And he said to me, I will take you there. I said, no, you don't have to. Just point me in the right direction. He said, I want to take you there. So we walked across the concourse. It took about 25 minutes. It would have taken me 5, but it took 25. I slowed down, talking to me, telling me about his life. Lovely, lovely guy named Jerry. And we get to the taxi. I said, thanks so much. I can't thank you enough. I put out my hand, and he gives me a huge hug. He said, it was so nice to help you. I said, well, I'm so happy I met you. I said, thanks again. He said, I will wait till you go. I will wait till you go. Another profound lesson. Slow down, Mr. Professor, slow down. You're going to miss the whole bloody movie. He just wanted to be heard. He could have been on a corner, asking for money, asking for charity. No, he's actually working 9 to 5, 9 to 6, and doing his best. It's my job to hear him. People want to be recognized. People want to be recognized. Reminded me of being down in the valley, big engineering firm, 45 VPs doing great, great work. Very few women, mostly men. And I'm this guy, Gary's coach, and he's a real kind of macho man and wants me to go hunting with him. I'm hardly a hunter. But anyway, he's a pretty nice guy. And every Thursday we have a meeting from, 2 to 5, and we talk strategy and where we're going to be next month and how he sees it next year. And we notice every week about 10 past 4, one of the engineers named Julie gets up, packs her bag, and she leaves. So Gary says to me, Mark, could you do me a favor and find out why Julie's leaving? I said, no, that's not my job. I'm your coach. If you want to find something out, why don't you speak to Julie? And do me a favor, don't do it in public. Well, of course, bull in the china shop. The next week comes, Julie gets up. He says, Julie, can I ask you where you're going? We have another 15 minutes. I particularly had questions I wanted to ask you about your project. And she stops. She stops right there, cold in her tracks, and she says, okay, might as well go public. I'm leaving because I have to pick up my children at the child care center. My husband walked out on me about 18 months ago. I have 2 little babies. They're in daycare. And for those of you who don't have children, if you're late in a Silicon Valley child care center, you might be charged $15 a minute. I just don't have it. And by now the tears are flowing, and she packs her bag. And hold on a moment. And she said, Jerry, he said, I'm paying today. I'm paying today. And he comes into the room, in the center of the room, and says to the 45 people sitting there, would everyone be free if we had the meeting from 12 to 3 and lunch is on me? I'll bring in lunch every week. And Julie's standing there. He said, well, there you go, Julie. You are not only a member of this team, you are a vital member of our team. And you're a member of our family. And what happened to you is not your fault. In my team, we stand shoulder to shoulder. We each take a bullet for each other if we have to. So we value you, and we will adjust our schedule. And we want you to be part of our family for as long as you want to be. And by this time, she's so overcome with emotion, she packs her bag, goes out the door. But I saw once again the power of recognition. Saying to a person who's your direct report, who's leaving early, do you know how valuable you are? Do you know how much it matters to me that you're here? It was just amazing. So people want to be recognized. And the final one, people want to make a contribution. They don't want to be out in left field. They don't want to be in the dark. They want to make a contribution. They want to do something important. So I was in Washington, D.C. with my 5-year-old grandson. I made the mistake of saying to this little brilliant guy, if you learn all the presidents and the state capitals, Papa, me, will take you to Washington on the train. Well, 2 weeks later, I picked up the phone. He's calling from Chicago and the capital of California, Sacramento, and so it went on. And the 6th president, William Henry Harrison, died after 6 months in office. So there we go. We're on the train 2 weeks later. My son, my grandson, and myself. I really enjoyed it. He and I slept perfectly. My son didn't sleep the whole night. But the main thing is we got off the train and went to the National Portrait Gallery. And we're walking around, and he is speaking full volume. Papa, there's William Henry Harrison, died after 6 months in office. There's William Howard Taft, too fat to get out of the bathtub, and they had to call the fire department. I mean, unbelievable. I have my guide for the National Portrait Gallery. Goes upstairs with my son to look at the sports figures. And I suddenly find myself in front of the portrait of Barack Obama. And the portrait's beautiful, of the former president covered in Hawaiian leaves. Absolutely beautiful. And as I'm looking at this beautiful, beautiful portrait, I noticed there are purple cords leading up to the portrait, because sometimes there's a line to study the portrait. And I speak to a lovely African-American woman who was the guard. And I just said to her, I don't know why I said it, I said, you know, I feel like I'm in a shrine. And she looked at me, most beautiful look, and she said, well, you are. Shall we pray? And I said, excuse me? She said, shall we pray? Come on. And she grabbed 2 other people. She said, we're going to pray. Would that be? Oh, fine. Fine. And so the 8 of us are in front of the portrait of Barack Obama in prayer, with her speaking the Lord's Prayer and leading us in the singing of Sweet Low, Sweet Chariot. Hugs, tears, I can't explain what happened. A huge moment happened, that she sees the moment of true connectivity. Talk about personal connection. Our lives were changed forever. That 10-minute prayer service changed our lives forever. So this is the time that people really want to be seen. Everything is 10 times more important now than it was. People need to be seen. People need to be heard. They need to be recognized. And they need to make contributions. And I'll tell you, I have about 7 little tips for you. You do half of them, it's all going to happen. But what was so important in that moment really had to do with it's person to person. It's human to human. And how can we actually show up for each other and make a difference? So these are the tips. There are about 7 of them. First of all, up the empathy. Up the empathy. People aren't feeling great. Put yourself in their shoes. Feel what it's like in their shoes and see what all that's like. In other words, really connect to where they're at. And don't fall in love with the sound of your own voice, but fall in love with the sound of their voices. Let the empathy in. 2, this is the big one. Make the choice. In the words of my mentor and late glorious teacher, Dr. Angeles Arian, cross-cultural anthropologist, she said it so well. She said it's time to show up and choose to be present. But show up and choose to be present with nothing else in your mind. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Winston Churchill. It might be the end of the beginning. Showing up with that much conviction, that much passion for each other. The third one, are you being inclusive? It's very easy in the virtual world to play to 1 or 2 people or 3 people that are actually coming up with the answers. That's just great. But we already know that inclusivity is a huge, huge factor in people feeling membership in a work group, in a company, in a family. So to be inclusive. In a movie I saw going to Bangkok, a wonderful film in Salt Lake City where they did a rock concert to, in fact, promote lesbian gay rights. It was called Believer. And they had a theme, which is, it's time to up the love. Up the love. This is not a normal time. This is a time where people are in terrible pain. Terrible pain. Up the love. Put forth goodness, possibility, all those. The next one, the 3 A's. Practice the 3 A's. Put them at the beginning of your meetings. Put them at the end and have other people lead it. The 3 A's. Appreciation, acknowledgement, apology. Appreciation, acknowledgement, apology. Let people express thank yous right out loud. Acknowledgement, I really appreciated you sharing this tough load with me. I'm under a deadline and I'm having to homeschool my kids. All kinds of things like that. I'm sorry I wasn't sensitive enough to your needs. I was just on a wonderful phone call with a major company this morning, full of acknowledgement, appreciation, apology, and they're getting through the storm because they care so much. And that leads us to another one. Embrace vulnerability. Embrace vulnerability. This COVID-19 disease forces us to not dress up for the ball. We are our authentic selves. To thine own self be true. So be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to express the truth and truth-telling. And don't dress it up for anything. Be your true, honest, good self. See what happens. And then one of the things I'm finding during this time from my old teacher, the late Carl Rogers, to facilitate acts of unconditional positive regard. Unconditional positive regard. The act of doing something for someone without expecting any payback. Our assignment in those days was drive across the Golden Gate Bridge and pay for the 3 cars in back of you. My God, I'm working 3 jobs to go to Berkeley and I get to pay for these cars. It's only 50 cents in those days, but still. Went across, I said, this is pretty stupid. Here's my $2. And suddenly I saw the windows open and I saw virtual high fives and people smiling and mouthing the words, thank you, thank you. The idea of bringing some magic into the room, to bring some magic into the room, to actually do something nice, a note, a small gift, write an email, offer to share the workload, offer each other to each other. Offer to do some schooling for your partner's kids or one of your colleagues' kids that maybe everyone can be online for a half an hour, giving that person a break because they're working 24/7. And then finally, the last tip I have, what's next? When is the next meeting? When is the next meeting? You want to make personal connections? Then we need to look forward to seeing each other again. And who's leading that meeting? And what are you doing online that's a little more special than you'll do? Hopefully you'll do the 3 A's. But you can do something else. You can actually have your home. So let's make the most of home. Everyone bring an heirloom. Something that's really important that was given to you by your mother, your father, one of your ancestors. And share why that's an important thing to you. It's about reclaiming our old humanity. Reclaiming our old humanity. And to see, how can I actually make things different? How can I actually make things better? So, to just recap, the empathy, up the love, unconditional positive regard, all these different things that you can do, and also to share the leadership and to delegate in a way that you never have before. And don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Open the channel of vulnerability. People are in a lot of pain. And it's not about being a big strong guy or a big strong lady. It's about being true. And to thine own self be true. I'm just going to close with the words of a favorite poem of mine. Marianne Williamson, in her book, A Return to Love, wrote a wonderful poem called Our Deepest Fear. And it says the following: our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Who are you not to be? Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking, so other people won't feel insecure around you. We were all meant to shine as children do. We were all meant to shine as children do. And we were born to make manifest the glory of God that's within us. It's not just in some of us, it's actually in everyone. As you let your own light shine, you unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And as we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Personal connections, you can change lives. You can make it better. I wish you all good luck. Keep showing up, and this too shall pass.